isn't just making fast electric cars. They're quite explicit about taking that classic Gran Turismo idea. You know, sporty, comfortable for long distances, beautiful design.
Right, the whole package.
The whole package, exactly. And reimagining it for the electric age. Plus, they're layering in a pretty significant focus on sustainability, too. The RS models, and especially this new performance beast, they're positioned right at the dynamic spearhead of Audi's electric direction.
So how do you even start translating something like a Gran Turismo, traditionally, I think a long hood, big engine up front, onto an electric platform?
Well, it seems to start with the core philosophy. They wanted to create an emotive signature car. That's the term they use, blending dynamic elegance with electric power. And they talk about the design itself being this synthesis of form and function. There's a great quote here: aesthetics arise from efficiency.
Aesthetics from efficiency. I like that. So it's not just about looking good. It has to work aerodynamically.
Precisely. And you see that straight away in the car's stance.
Yeah.
Big, nearly 5 meters long, almost 2 wide, but it looks so low-slung, only 1.41 meters high.
That is low for a sedan.
It really is.
Yeah.
And they achieve that look by balancing sharp aerodynamic edges with these really quite muscular athletic surfaces.
And you've got those key Audi electric identifiers, right? The inverted grille.
Yep, the inverted single frame, those big quattro blisters over the wheels, which really shout all-wheel drive. That's super flat, flowing roof line. And then the sculpted rear with the light bar connected everything.
Okay. But practically speaking, how do you get that low roof line with a big battery under the floor? Isn't rear headroom usually the first casualty?
That's where one of the really clever bits of engineering comes, in something they call the foot garage.
The foot garage? Okay, explain that.
It's basically a specific recess, a cutout, in the battery pack, right where the rear passenger's feet go. So their feet sit lower, which means you can have that sleek, low roofline without making adults in the back fold themselves in half. It's kind of crucial for keeping both the look and the usability of a Gran Turismo.
Right. Usability is key for a GT, isn't it? And stepping inside, you do get that feeling of, well, both sportiness, but also space. It's definitely driver-focused, that monoposto cockpit layout.
Yeah, it angles towards the driver.
Yes, exactly. Feels quite intimate, but it doesn't feel cramped.
And the materials inside, this is a big part of Audi's story here. They're really pushing sustainability as part of the modern premium feel. The sources detail a lot of recycled materials.
Like what specifically?
Well, things like e-tron for the carpets and mats that's made from recycled nylon, like old fishing nets and fabric scraps.
Fishing nets, why?
Yeah. And then for the seats, you've got options like Cascade fabric or Dynamica microfiber, which are largely made from recycled PET bottles, old textiles, that sort of thing.
So it's not just about offering leather anymore. They're positioning these recycled options as, well, as desirable alternatives.
Absolutely. You can still get high-quality leather and nice inlays like silk matte carbon, but yeah, the sustainable materials are presented as a core part of the premium offering. It's a statement.
Okay. And seating options?
3 main types mentioned. Standard sport seats, then optional sport seats pro that add heating, ventilation, even massage functions.
Nice.
And the RS models, naturally, get some unique touches, special badges, stainless steel pedals, those sorts of things. You also notice details like the main MMI touch display being angled slightly.
10.1-inch one.
That's the one. And optional ambient lighting that can even project an e-tron logo onto the ground. It all feels very connected, the interior lines flowing into the exterior design.
And practicality-wise, luggage space. A GT needs to carry some bags.
It does. The numbers are pretty decent. 405 liters in the back for the GT Quattro. A bit less in the RS, 350 liters, because the premium sound system takes up some space back there.
Ah, okay.
Plus, there's that handy front trunk, the Frunk, with another 81 liters. So, yeah, definitely enough for a weekend trip or more.
Okay, so that covers the Gran Turismo aspect, the design, the comfort, the usability. Let's shift gears to the sport part, the power, what's under the skin.
Right. The core is the electric drive system. It uses 2 permanently excited synchronous motors, or PSMs, one on the front axle, one on the rear.
Permanently excited synchronous motors.
Yeah.
Okay, for someone like me, what's the key takeaway there? Why that type?
Basically, think of them as motors where the rotor uses permanent magnets. This design is known for being very efficient and having high power density. That translates to that instant torque feel and the ability to deliver high power consistently, which is exactly what you want in a performance EV.
And that setup enables the electric all-wheel drive.
Exactly. and it allows for incredibly precise and fast torque distribution between the axles, way faster than any mechanical system could manage.
Okay, now the numbers, the power figures. This is where it gets really interesting, right?
It really does. So the standard e-tron GT Quattro, it starts with 350 kilowatts, which is about 476 horsepower. But it has a boost mode.
Right, for short burst.
Yep, pushing it to 390 kilowatts or 550 horsepower. Then the standard RS e-tron GT takes a big step up. 440 kilowatts standard, that's 598 horsepower, boosting to 475 kilowatts or 646 horsepower.
Already very serious numbers.
Very serious. But here's the headline grabber, the really big news from the latest info. This new RS e-tron GT performance model, it delivers up to 680 kilowatts.
680 kilowatts. Just put that into horsepower for us again.
That translates to a maximum output of 925 horsepower. 925.
Wow.
That makes the RS e-tron GT Performance the most powerful production car Audi has ever built, period.
Okay, just pause on that for a second. The most powerful Audi ever is an electric four-door Gran Turismo. What does that signal?
I mean, it fundamentally shifts the conversation, doesn't it, about what electric power can do in a luxury car. It's not just about being green anymore. It's about absolutely smashing traditional performance benchmarks.
And you definitely see that in the acceleration times. The GT Quattro is quick, 4.1 seconds, 0 to 100K. The standard RS, very impressive at 3.3 seconds.
But the RS Performance, it drops that sprint to an unbelievable 2.5 seconds, using launch control, of course.
2.5 seconds, that's proper hypercar speed in a comfy four-seater.
Exactly. And they mentioned a push-to-pass function, too, on the Performance model, likely giving you that full 680 kilowatts for a short period. Torque figures are huge, 630 NMVs for the GT Quattro, 830 for the RS. And for the Performance, they list 409 nm front, 590 rear.
And that incredible launch, they attribute a lot of that to the two-speed transmission on the rear axle.
Yes, that's critical. It has a very, very short first-gear ratio, something like 15.6 to 1, purely for that explosive acceleration off the line. Once you're rolling, it shifts into a much taller second gear for efficiency and, well, reaching top speed.
Which is limited.
Electronically limited, yes. 245 kilometers per hour for the GT Quattro and 250 for both the RS and the RS Performance. So about 152 and 155 miles per hour, respectively.
They also mentioned some tech inside the motors themselves, hairpin winding. What's that about?
Ah, right. It's a way of packing the copper wires in the stator, the stationary part of the motor. Instead of traditional round wires, they use rectangular ones that fit together much more densely, like hairpins.
Okay. And the benefit?
Better copper fill factor. Basically, more copper in the same space. That increases the motor's output, torque, and it helps with cooling, too, allowing for more sustained high-power delivery without overheating. Efficiency is quoted at over 90% for these motors, too, which is impressive.
And that electric all-wheel drive, you said it's super fast.
Millisecond fast. It's constantly monitoring grip, steering angle, throttle input, everything, and adjusting the torque split between front and rear instantly. Compared to mechanical Quattro system, it's just orders of magnitude quicker and more predictive. It tailors its behavior based on the Audi Drive Select Mode too. Comfort, dynamic, efficiency.
Right, tuning it for stability or agility or maximizing range.
Exactly. Maximum dynamism, stability, traction, whatever you need, right when you need it.
Okay, so you've got all this power. You need a serious battery and fast charging to back it up. Let's talk energy. It's an 800-volt system, right? Why is 800 volts such a big deal? We hear that number a lot now.
Yeah, it's becoming the standard for high-performance EVs. The main advantages are, 1, it allows the motors to deliver high power continuously without generating as much heat in the cabling. 2, it's the key enabler for really fast DC charging.
Faster charging.
And 3, counterintuitively maybe, it allows for thinner, lighter wiring throughout the car compared to a lower voltage system carrying the same power. Saves weight, saves space.
Got it. And the battery itself?
It's a lithium-ion pack, located under the floor for a low center of gravity, which is great for handling. It uses pouch cells. The capacity is stated as 84 kilowatt hours net usable.
Net being what you actually get to drive with.
Right. And 93 kilowatt hours gross, which is the total physical capacity. Its placement also helps achieve near 50.50 weight distribution.
And the range from that 84 kilowatt hour?
The WLAPP figures vary a bit. Up to 488 kilometers, that's around 303 miles for the GT Quattro. A little less for the standard RS, 472 kilometers. Interestingly, the new RS Performance model is quoted with more range, somewhere between 533 and 592 kilometers WLTP.
Huh, more range despite more power. Maybe efficiency improvements elsewhere.
Could be refinements in the motors, software, maybe even aero tweaks specific to that model. WLTP, remember, is the standardized European test cycle, so it gives us a good comparison point.
Right. Now, the charging, this is where that 800-volt system really pays off for everyday use, you said.
Absolutely. AC charging at home or work, standard is 11 kilowatts, which is pretty typical. They mentioned an optional 22 kilowatt unit coming later. But the DC fast charging is where it shines. It can handle a peak power of up to 270 kilowatts.
270 kilowatts. Again, translate that into time. How fast can you actually add miles?
Audi puts it quite clearly in the materials. Under ideal conditions, right temperature, powerful charger, you can add about 100 kilometers or roughly 62 miles of range in just over 5 minutes.
5 minutes for 100 kilometers? That's genuinely useful, almost like a quick fuel stop.
It starts to get there, yeah. And charging the main chunk of the battery, say from 5% up to 80% state of charge, can take less than 22.5 minutes. Yeah. That's really quick for adding that much energy.
But achieving that consistently requires managing battery temperature, right? Especially if you've just been driving hard or it's very cold out.
Crucial. And they have a pretty sophisticated thermal management system. 4 separate cooling circuits, managing the battery, the motors, the power electronics.
Okay.
And here's a really smart integration. If you use the car's navigation system and you set a high-power charger, an HPC terminal, as your destination, the car automatically starts preconditioning the battery on the way there. It'll heat it up or cool it down so that it arrives at the charger in the perfect temperature window to accept that maximum 270 kilowatt charge rate right from the moment you plug in.
That is clever. So no more showing up with a cold battery and getting frustratingly slow charging speeds initially.
Exactly. It optimizes the whole process. They also mention a standard heat pump, which is important for efficiency in winter. It uses waste heat from the electrical components to help warm the cabin, reducing the drain on the battery compared to just using resistive heating.
Good for preserving range in cold weather.
Definitely. And helps with those repeatable performance runs, too. Keeps everything cool. For convenience, there's the usual app integration. The My Audi app lets you check charging status, precondition the cabin remotely, find the car.
Standard EV stuff now, but good to have. And they mentioned the e-tron charging service in Europe.
Yeah, access to a large network of chargers with just one card or account. And specific benefits mentioned for the Ionity network, likely meaning better pricing or simpler activation for Audi drivers.
Okay, power, range, charging. Let's talk about how it actually drives. The handling, the ride. What's the suspension setup?
It uses a double wishbone suspension design, front and rear. That's generally considered a sporty setup, good for wheel control. Lots of aluminum components used to keep unsprung weight down.
And steering.
Electromechanical power steering. And there's that optional all-wheel steering system we touched on briefly.
Right, the rear wheel's turning. How much difference does that make?
Quite a bit, according to the descriptions. At low speeds, turning the rears opposite to the fronts makes it feel much more agile, easier to park, tighter turning circle. At higher speeds, turning them slightly with the fronts enhances stability, makes lane changes feel smoother and more secure.
So agility and stability. Sounds like the best of both worlds. What about brakes? Stopping 925 horsepower needs serious anchors.
You have options. Standard are steel discs, but standard on the RS and optional on the GT are tungsten carbide-coated brakes.
Tungsten carbide? What's the benefit there?
Better performance than steel, less prone to fade. But the big user benefits are significantly reduced brake dust, keeps those nice wheels cleaner, and they don't get that ugly surface rust, flash rust, that EVs sometimes get because you use regenerative braking so much.
Okay, makes sense. And the top option?
Carbon fiber ceramic brakes. Massive discs, up to 420 millimeters at the front. Lightweight, incredibly fade-resistant, ultimate stopping power, but, you know, a pricey option.
Usually is. Now, the ride comfort versus sportiness that's often managed by air suspension these days.
Yes, and the e-tron GT has an adaptive air suspension system, standard on the RS, optional on the GT Quattro. It's a 3-chamber system.
3 chambers per air spring. Why 3?
Having multiple chambers allows for a wider range of spring rates. So the system can provide a really SOS-compliant ride in comfort mode, but then firm up significantly for much better body control in dynamic mode. It gives you a broader spectrum of comfort and handling.
And it adjusts ride height, too?
Yep. Lowers the car at speed for better aero and stability. Can raise it up a bit with a lift mode if you need extra ground clearance for a steep driveway or something. It works hand in glove with the electronically controlled dampers. It's all managed by this central brain, the electronic chassis platform, or ECP, coordinating everything.
And you control the overall feel through Audi Drive Select.
Right. The usual modes. Comfort, efficiency, dynamic, and an individual mode, where you can mix and match settings for suspension, steering, motor response, even that e-tron sport sound we should talk about.
Before we get to the sound, there's one more dynamic feature. The rear axle differential lock. Standard on RS, optional on GT. What does that do?
It's an electronically controlled multi-plate clutch in the rear differential.
Okay. Impact on driving.
It actively manages how much torque goes to each rear wheel. So accelerating out of a corner, it can lock up to send power to the wheel with more grip, improving traction and stability. But it also enables cork vectoring by braking.
How does that work?
When you turn into a corner sharply, it can apply a tiny bit of brake pressure to the inside rear wheel. This creates a yaw moment that helps pivot the car into the corner more eagerly. Makes a relatively large car feel much more agile and willing to turn in.
Clever. So it's not just locking for traction, it's actively helping cornering agility.
Exactly. Now, about recuperation and coasting.
Right. How does it handle slowing down? Does it regen heavily as soon as you lift off?
The default strategy, apparently, is to prioritize coasting for efficiency when you lift off the accelerator. Feels more natural, like a conventional car. But you can select different levels of recuperation using paddles on the steering wheel if you prefer more one-pedal style driving.
And when you hit the brake pedal.
The electric motors handle the vast majority of everyday braking, recuperating energy back into the battery. They say it can handle braking up to about 0.3 G using just the motors, which covers most situations. The system can recover up to 265 kilowatts of power under heavy deceleration when both motors are involved. The friction brakes mostly just come in for harder stops or emergencies.
Okay, so beyond the driving dynamics, the tech experience. Lighting is always a big Audi thing.
Definitely. You've got options ranging from standard LEDs up to matrix LEDs, which can selectively dim parts of the beam to avoid dazzling other drivers. And the top option is matrix LED with Audi laser light.
Laser light, what does that add?
It adds a laser module for the high beam, which apparently doubles the range compared to standard LED high beams. Really illuminates far down the road.
And the signature rear light strip.
Yes, with dynamic turn signals that sweep outwards. They also emphasize the animated coming home and leaving home light sequences, which are apparently quite dramatic, especially in the RS models. Gives the car a bit of theater.
Okay, now, that e-tron sport sound. Standard on RS, optional on GT. Electric cars are quiet, sometimes too quiet at low speeds.
Right, so there's the legally required AVAS, the acoustic vehicle alerting system. Just a basic hum or noise below certain speeds so pedestrians can hear you.
But the sport sound is more than that.
Much more. It's a purpose-designed synthetic soundscape. It uses multiple sound sources, taking inputs like motor speed, throttle position, maybe even G-forces, and generates a sound that's played through speakers both inside and outside the car.
So it's not trying to sound like a V8?
No, not according to the description. It's meant to be a futuristic digital sound that gives you acoustic feedback on what the electric powertrain is doing. Its character and intensity change depending on the drive mode selected via Audi Drive Select. Progressive, they call it.
Interesting. Divisive maybe, but interesting. Inside, the screens dominate.
Pretty much. You've got the 12.3-inch Audi virtual cockpit, plus, for the driver, highly configurable, includes special e-tron displays showing power flow range, etc. And then the central 10.1-inch MMI touch display.
Does it have haptic feedback? I find that helps when you're driving.
Yes, it does. Gives you that little click or pulse sensation to confirm you've pressed an icon. There's also natural language voice control, Hey Audi, and an optional head-up display projecting info onto the windscreen. Plus personalization, so different drivers can save their settings.
And connectivity, navigation, online services.
All there. MMI navigation plus built-in Wi-Fi hotspot, the whole suite of Audi Connect services, online traffic, Google Earth mapping, online radio, Amazon Alexa integration, even Car2X communication where the car can share or receive hazard warnings with other compatible vehicles and infrastructure.
Car2X is starting to become more common, and for an EV, the route planning is crucial.
Absolutely. They highlight the e-tron route planner. It doesn't just find the shortest path. It calculates the fastest route overall, factoring in necessary charging stops.
How does it do that?
It considers traffic, your driving style estimate, charge locations, crucially their availability and charging speed, and calculates the optimal places to stop and for how long, minimizing total journey time, including the charging.
That sounds incredibly useful for reducing range anxiety on longer trips.
It should be, yeah. And you can manage some of this remotely via the My Audi app, too. Check battery status, find the car, lock, unlock, start charging, turn on the climate control before you get in.
Standard remote features. What about audio?
Optional Bang & Olufsen premium sound system, which is standard on the RS models. Usually sounds pretty good in Audis.
And driver assists, assuming it's got the full suite available.
Yep. Starts with standard Audi pre-sense safety systems. Then optional packages, Tour, City, Park bundle features like Adaptive Cruise Assist, which combines adaptive cruise control and lane keeping, Side Assist, Cross Traffic Assist, and even Remote Park Assist Plus, where you can potentially get the car to park itself while you stand outside using your phone.
Okay, almost self-parking. Finally, where does all this come together? Where is it built?
This is significant. The e-tron GT is the first fully electric Audi model built in Germany, specifically at the Billinger Höfe facility near Neckarsulm.
And that plant is special, isn't it?
It is. It's described as a blend of skilled, traditional craftsmanship and cutting-edge smart factory technology. Digital processes, smart logistics, but still a lot of hand finishing. And what's really symbolic,
yes,
it's assembled on the exact same production line as the Audi R8 supercar.
Wow. So the pinnacle electric GT rolls off the same line as the V10 R8.
Side by side. That feels like a deliberate statement about the transfer of performance DNA into the electric era.
Definitely. And what about sustainability in the production itself?
They state the production process is net carbon neutral. They use 100% cocoa electricity and supplement with biogas for any necessary heating processes where electricity isn't feasible. So the car itself aims for sustainability in materials, and the factory aims for it in operation.
Okay, let's try and wrap this up. We've covered a lot. The Audi e-tron GT family, now topped by this, frankly, mind-blowing 925 horsepower RS performance model. It's this complex fusion, isn't it?
It really is. You've got extreme electric performance, that striking, slippery design, truly cutting-edge EV tech like the 800-volt system, and that smart thermal management.
Sophisticated driving dynamics, the air suspension, rear steering, the clever diff lock, plus smart connectivity, and those surprisingly deep sustainability threads running through materials in production.
Yeah, it feels like Audi's definitive statement on reimagining the Gran Turismo for the electric age. It's not just fast. It aims to be comfortable, usable day-to-day, technologically advanced, and built with an eye on the future.
So hopefully you listening now have a much clearer picture of what defines this top tier of electric luxury and performance. It really marks a significant point in how these types of cars are evolving.
So maybe the final thought to leave you with is this. What does it really signify when a major automaker's most powerful production car ever is electric? When it's built using recycled fishing nets in a carbon-neutral factory right alongside their most iconic combustion engine supercar. What does that single production line, that juxtaposition, really tell us about where performance, luxury, and even manufacturing itself might be heading?